Hey everybody, Big Toad here, and welcome to my studio. Today, I'm going to work on a painting, and again, I'm going to use the palette, the color mixtures that we created in our mixing greens exercise, just to show you, how valuable that exercise and that palette was, and what you can do with it. So this is a smaller painting than the one I did with the mountain lake. I blocked it in using burnt umber, and now I'm just throwing in the grayish blues for the base for the sky and for the little stream running through the painting, I should say. Now I'm actually adding some color to the water and gone right in with a really nice dark green to block in areas, and using these different greens to get trees and bushes and everything blocked in. This is another example. I actually got this composition using AI, but I totally changed it. I'm using the color palette that I created in the mixing greens, and that just changed the whole look. And I'm not trying to be photorealistic. I'm working more towards abstract type painting with my shapes and images here. So still just blocking in using my various greens. Now I'm adding a little flavor to that trees there. Just adding some color, using some of my greens to bring about color and depth and create the roundness of my tree. Bringing in some darks. I'm going to use a lot of darks in this little painting. Again, might want to make this a moody, dark looking image painting. Working around my darks some more, building out those darks. And as always, I'm not afraid to use a lot of paint. I'm leaving a lot of paint on the canvas as I paint this out. So because I've already had these colors mixed up, I was able to really jump in fast and create depth and shape to my trees. This is going to be kind of the main focal area, putting some of that greenish yellow on the front where the sun would be hitting it. Sun's coming in from the left. The darks in this little painting are going to be very important. Now I'm going back to the other tree on the other side again, and I'm dipping into these various colors of green, and I put them on there. And if it's too light, I switch. Too dark, I switch. I've got all my different greens already mixed up, and I'm just picking and choosing which ones to kind of create that roundness and shape to my tree. Again, the light side where the sun's coming in on the left, and moving around to get darker shades on the right. Working on that row of bushes in the far background, adding some depth and texture to those, breaking up the colors with impasto techniques using broken color, painting in the tree trunk there. And I'm using again some more of those greens. I got a little bit of brownish colors that I mixed up, and I'm going to be using them on the tree trunks, creating again some more color. And this tree trunk over here have it show up. And one of the things you'll notice on these trees, so I'm going to go over them several times, adding different colors, adjusting them as I paint. That's one of the things I do. I go in with my first best color that I want, but because I'm not doing photorealism, I'm not trying to match the colors in my source material at all. That's not my point. I'm painting not to match the colors, but to create depth and composition, to create contrast, to create pathways through my painting, to express myself. I'm not painting to duplicate. I'm using it as a source and a source only. And so this is not going to look anything like my source material. And it's really not even worth showing because I've changed it so much already. So again, working on the bushes in the back, that far pushed away back row. Now moving forward, adding some light colors up front on this bush in order to create this separation between this little peninsula that comes out into the creek, the stream on the left that I've been working on, and the background. That's going to be one of the things that's going to make or break this painting, is how do I create contrast? Because already you see it bleeding together back there. And so you're wondering, where's the depth? Where's the planes in this painting? What's far, what's near, and how does it work? And right now your eye is confused because I don't have the contrasts in place. But so I'm going to be building those out as I go along with this painting. I want to break up that foreground using various different hues of that darker color. I don't like to use one solid color as much as I like to break up those colors with little variations in the hue, and break up those shadows and depth. So giving the shadows contour, but just subtle differences here, especially on the little bushes I'm doing now. I'm creating depth and creating contour and shape very subtly in this dark patch of the painting. Bouncing back to the tree, to the bushes in the back. Now I'm going to put in a couple trees, 3 trees on this side behind, a little bit further back than that main big tree. They're going to be a different kind of tree, a little more yellowish green foliage on them. And again, I've got 3 trees there. So where do I want those trees to bleed together, to lose the edges between them? And where do I want contrast? If I did it all one color or made it all look the same, it would look like a giant blob and you wouldn't know. So when you do this and put these trees together, you really need to ask yourself, do I need to see a separation? And how much of a separation? You don't want to fully separate these trees, and you'll see how to do that. Put a little darker shadow on the right side now. Now I'm coming back in and putting some darker shadows on the right side of these 2 trees, and that is creating separation. That's creating the contrast I need to bring out the fact that there's 3 trees there. And I'm going to work on these trees and lighten up the left side a little bit, again, to create more contrast. But you can tell when you get sort of closer to the bottom of those trees, they kind of blend together, and you're not sure where one starts and the other one ends, whereas you go up higher on those trees and you can see clear separation based on the contrast. That is what I was after. It's knowing and deciding where you're going to see the contrast and where it's going to bleed together. I've added some greenery on the ground around those trees, going around this other big tree and using my rigger in various colors of the green to create grasses and depth. Not overworking it, but I am just laying out some grasses. Now I'm coming back in and breaking up and putting more dark down there on the bottom and adding some variety of dark to that. Here's some really darker dark. And again, creating that break that you can just barely see is really cool. I added, again, a lighter patch of green within that dark. Now I'm putting grasses in there using that rigger. Creating depth, creating kind of a little island there on the edge of that peninsula, and not overworking it, not trying to put in a lot of detail. I don't want to overwork that. But see, just a little touches here and there of the color create that illusion of depth in the ground around it. Do some little grasses out on the front of that. There's always a lot of grass around these wilderness creeks and stuff. They're not groomed, and so you get these things growing up, patches of forest greeneries and such. But you can see none of these strokes have much meaning except that they add variety, they add contrast, they add shadow, they add shape. And that's what painting is about, is those things, rather than I'm not trying to duplicate nature. I'm trying to express it in a abstract or a suggestive way. Not totally abstract, of course, but Again, adding little bits of grasses in here, creating little pockets of grass and such to provide detail, which gives depth to that area as well. Go back across the creek now and do a little bit more work on that far bank. I'm going to now go up into the tree and take that darker dark I created. Again, creating more depth in the tree is what I'm after. I want to create that really nice illusion of depth there, kind of make that gloomy day type look. And throwing some dark against the bottom of the shore. Not a lot. I don't want to go too heavy back there, but I do want to create a nice separation between the water. And you're going to lose where's the shadow? Where's the reflection of that bank? I want to kind of break that edge up so it's not a solid break. I'm kind of bouncing around the painting now, adding little details here and there. As I step back and look, and kind of cut out my pauses and when I step back and look. That's going on all throughout this painting at this point. Trying to make sure my strokes and what I'm doing now is adding to the contrast, adding to the story, directing the viewer's eye around the paint. I want that little island there in the middle that sticks out with the big tree on it. I want that to capture the attention of the viewer. Now on this bottom left, I'm going in with a little darker color and a little lighter color. And then I can take the dark and come up over the top of that light and really start to create the illusion of depth, because I'm going to have a mixture of dark and light grasses, as if there's multiple planes of grasses growing up, not just a single row of grass, but the colors create that depth. So I'm going in with light colors and coming back in with dark colors and creating depth. I'm going to put a little dead broken tree with some branches over there as well, just to add a little break up to that color, give it a little life over there, but not too much. I don't want that to overpower anything. I just want it to subtly sit there. I maybe could have done without it, but I wanted to break up the water a little bit more, that stream. I wanted to disrupt that big patch of water I have there. Going into my tree now and adding some darks to the right side of it. Again, I'm after that kind of gloomy day. You can tell the sky's a little bit hazed over. Now putting some nice, really good darks in that bottom left, and that pushes the eye away from that so that you don't escape out that bottom of the painting. I'm going to push them back up. That pushes you back up into the stream, and once you get to the stream, you're going to gravitate right towards that little peninsula that's coming out with that big tree on it. And so that's what all these grasses are doing, pointing you in the direction of the stream and towards that tree, reaching out towards the focal point, so to speak. Again, creating depths and layers. Started with the lighter colors, and then I bring in the darker colors over the top, meander in some light colors here and there. And I like the way this corner turned out on this painting. Now I'm going to put some nice little golden flowers on this little island out there, using my it's right out of the tube, but it's just a small bit of it, of that cadmium yellow medium. And now I'm creating some reflections in the stream. And that gives movement and life to my water, which is what I'm after there. It would have been smarter had I done the reflections in the stream before I did this foreground, especially that little dead tree. Now again, I'm pushing darks in that back farthest piece of the stream. I want to push darks back there up against the edge, but allow some light maybe to come in from the left, right at the end of that stream where it goes around the corner, but create darks right up against the shoreline. That adds some depth to it. I'm going to add a little highlight of the kind of yellowish green on that tree, and take a lot of it away. I didn't want to make it look too much like the big tree the main tree. Using very small strokes, I'm adding in reflections and movement into my water. I want to bring some nice dark water on this edge of the little peninsula that's coming out of there, the bank of that stream over there, and down into the bottom right corner. I want to bring darks. Why? Again, to push the eye up the stream and towards the end of that little corner in the creek there, where the eye will pull you back into the flat where that big tree is and the little golden yellow flowers. So I'm using the various colors. I'm using a lot of those blues I created that are kind of aquamarine blues, and I'm just adding little bits of that here and there to create movement within my water. That has a nice effect. I did not show you, but I did do some modifications to that back row of trees. I did make some breakup of those trees. Overall, I think it's a pretty nice little painting. I've got some decent contrast in there. I was able to create that illusion of depth by making modifications to that far bank of bushes back there. Set them back a little bit with some lighter greens, used a little more yellowish greens up on those bushes on the left next to that single tree there. Created some nice deep shadows. Again, I like the colors in the water. I think that palette we created in that exercise made some really beautiful water for these gloomy days. So overall, I like it. I hope you enjoyed it as well. Maybe give it a shot and see what you can do with that palette of greens. And with that, I think we're done for today. So this is the Big Toad, and I am out.